Hello, and in today's video we're going to look at the IF sailing boat. Now, I don't know much about the boat, so I thought I'd read what comes in the note card with it, and I always recommend that you do read the manual before you take any of your new boats out, as they usually have lots of information in there that's useful. But in the instance of the Bandit IF, the Bandit IF is based on the real-world Folksboat, a one-design racing class that, thanks to its unsurpassed seagoing capabilities for its size, acquired fame as a low-budget passage maker for blue water cruising. The design may be over 70 years old. Folksboats are still being built and raced today, where the traditional wood has now been replaced by the more modern glass-reinforced plastic, or GRP. The Second Life version is made in the same tradition. The focus is clearly placed on the sailing and racing aspect, but it can equally be your home away from home when exploring all corners of the grid. And I think that sums that up pretty well with voiceover. So, further ado, don't save that, we will get in the boat. The usual right click and sit here. And then Bexy's going to join me. Now, the great thing about this boat, as with many of the others, is you can crew them. So your friends can come with you and they can help you actually sail the boat. Now, I don't race personally, but I like to cruise, and this little boat is great for a cruising sail if you just want to go out for a relaxing sail. I find this boat is really good for that. When you're sailing on your own, you do have to control the sails yourself, so the problem there would be that you can't steer and do the sails at the same time. So you can be out and you can put the sails up, put the sails down, but bear in mind when you do that on your own, you don't have control of the boat to steer it. So for that period of time, danger zone. So try not to do that when there's people around or if you think you're going to have to steer the boat. Of course, when you've got a crew member, you haven't got to worry about that because they'll be taking care of the sails for you while you worry about the steering. So let me show you how that's going to work. And also let me show you some just basic kind of marine safety rules while we're doing sailing in sailing boats. So I'll hit escape there just to get my camera reset. Now, when you're in a marine environment or outside your house, wherever you might have rested your boat, in a sailboat, usually you wouldn't use the sails in a built-up area because the wind is quite unpredictable, it's quite strong at times, and you don't have as much control over your boat. So, good boats in SL replicate the real ones, and of course they have an onboard motor. So to use the onboard motor on the AF, we're going to type start. And you will go out and you will start up the onboard motor. We'll use the onboard motor to get ourselves out of the marina onto the main sea, and then we'll put the sails up and off we will go. Bexy will control the sails for me while I will be controlling the actual steering. Okay, so we're off and the camera view's gone crazy for reasons beyond my comprehension at this point because it never done that before. Let's just get ourselves out of here. There we go. Okay, so I've typed number 1, which tells it to go at the slowest speed for the motor. The motor takes the number 1 for slow speed, the number 2 for the highest speed, and -1 for reverse. 0 for going into neutral. So we'll turn a bit steep because I'm waffling and not paying enough attention to where I'm driving. Which typically in this video is going to make me crash into somebody's boat, isn't it? Really? Oh, look at that. Okay. I'll leave that in. It saves me having to edit it, but yeah, okay. Sometimes it's good to pay attention to where you're going. Once you're in a safe place, then you can turn your speed up with number 2. So there we go, we're at number 2. That'll make us go a little bit quicker as we come out of here. And when we get out of here, I'm going to do 2 things. I'll mention that now. So you get a hood, which comes with the Bandit IF, and there's a crew hood that you give to your crew. And there's a hood that you can use too, and you can set the wind and things. Now, you set the wind usually using chat commands, but this particular boat takes degrees, so you need to know your degrees to be able to set it. However, if you're not too good with that kind of thing, there are lots of hoods available. I have a hood which I bought on the marketplace, which allows me to very easily set winds on the boat without having to worry about what the degrees are. So we're going to get out of here, and I'm going to stop the actual engine. And I'll just quickly show you the hood, just so you can see what that is, and also set the wind. So down here I have a hood, which, when you open it, has this. Now this shows us the direction of the wind, so I've chosen the northwest because we're going to be generally heading away from that. And you can set the speed in knots here as well, and along here, and it kind of shows you from green to red. Red is uber fast, winds, dangerous. Green is very, very slow and gentle. I think by default the boat's kind of rezzed out, and I think it's about 15 knots at a rough guess. And I'm just going to leave it at that speed because that's quite a nice speed, but you can adjust it as you need. Okay, well, without further ado then, now the wind is right, I'm going to turn the draw distance up, because we keep the draw distance down when we're in a built-up area, because that just stops us lagging a lot. And then once we get out into a sea bit, we need to open up our eyes so we can see where we're going. Here we go. You'll have to excuse me sniffing a little bit. My hay fever has hit real hard as I started to make this video, so I'm trying desperately not to sneeze all the time. So that's loading up the world. Once it's loaded up, Bexy will put the sails up, and then we will drive. Well, sail. Not drive. Been on the road a little while, you see. So you put the main sail up, the jib sail up, sorry, with jib in the chat, or using the hood in the case of the crewing, and main in chat for you on your own, or you click the big sail in the hood to control that. What I might do is I might tag a little bit onto the end of this video, maybe, where I'll just show you the hood, or just before we quit out I'll show you what the hood looks like. But it's got basically the sails are drawn as pictures and you just click on them. So Bexy will be controlling that. You'll notice that we have some speed controls on this boat, and let me go in a mouse view because I can probably show you that a little better. As you see here, we've got the boat speed, we've got the wind speed, we've got the boom's angle, and we've got the average wind. I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but basically the wind angle. You'll notice that the colours change. When they're green, it means that the sails are in the optimal place, and when they go yellow, it usually means that you need to pull them in, and if they go blue, they're too tight and you need to let them out. You'll also notice luffing on the actual sails. If they start making that flapping sound, that means that they're too loose and you need to pull them in tight using the down arrow towards you. And if they are really tight but you're not really going anywhere and you see the blue colour, then you need to loosen them back out with the up arrow to loosen them out. In the case of this particular boat, the up arrow and down arrow controls the main sail, which is the big one, and the page up and page down controls the forward sail, which is the jib sail, and that pulls that inside and outside. Again, when you're using the hood, it has got some controls drawn on the hood with arrows that you can click on to control things. Now, as you can see from the last videos, they were in 2015. I can't believe it was that long ago when we actually did any videos. 4 years. I realised I hadn't done anything like this for 4 years, and I've got lots and lots and lots of videos to make. So you'll be seeing hopefully a lot more coming out from the Denimore factory, as it was. But this is 2019, 4 years later. SL hasn't changed a great deal, but a lot has changed. I've got new boats, and the scenery, you'll notice, if you recognise any of this from the previous videos, has also changed. As I mentioned in those videos, SL moves fast, so things around you change quite quickly. And you'll notice when we get down here, or you may notice, not everything looks exactly how it used to. Things do tend to move on. Now, this boat's really nice. I find it really relaxed and chilled. I like the sailing aspect of it. I like being able to control the sails. Normally when I go out, I control it myself. I don't normally have a crew, but I really wanted to show the crewing to you because it's a nice thing to be able to go out on your own and chill, but sometimes it's nice to take your friends. And rather than them, I mean, that's up to them, of course, but if they're just sat there, cruising, that's fine. No problem. They don't have to do any work when they're on the boat. But, sometimes if they want to take part, then you can say, hey, here, have the crew hood, give them a copy of it, and then they can control the sails for you while you do the steering. And maybe you could swap over and do it the other way around. Now, I'm just going to try and see if I can speed this up because it feels like it's going a little bit slower than I remember. So what we'll do is we'll go into the hood again, and I'm just going to click on 20, which will set a 20 knot wind. There we go. Just to speed things up a little bit so that the video doesn't run for too long. Because we're just going to go down to a little place down the road here, and I'm just going to show you how to come back in again and safely moor yourself up. So obviously, as I mentioned in a lot of the videos, keep an eye on your mini-map, which is down in the right hand corner. Keep it zoomed out so you can see if something's coming or not. It can sometimes be your eyes before you can see. If you're on a computer that's not that great and you can't have a really high draw distance, I use 512 whenever I'm on the seas or flying or whatever. Then you're going to be restricted to what you can actually see on the screen. So the map could really save you in knowing something's coming before you can see it. Another piece of advice, I think, which is probably worth saying, if you see something on the minimap that looks like there's buildings there and they don't show up in Second Life, assume the buildings are there. Because when I've gone down here, down this channel, I'm not going to go there in this video, but if you carry on a bit further, on the right-hand side, there's a marina. And for reasons beyond my comprehension, the marina doesn't res until the very last minute. And of course, if you're cruising down there, things can get interesting if you forget how close you are to where the wall suddenly appears in front of you, and then you have to sort of steer left to try and avoid it. So it is worth just keeping a distance from the sort of land there, even if you can't see it, just to be on the safe side. Looking around here at the moment, this is the Fiji Isles. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They run on the left-hand side here, and they run up and down on the big map, which we might even be able to show you as we're going in a straight line here. There you go. Look, if I just zoom out of here, we're coming down here, and the Fiji Isles are kind of here on the right-hand side. I don't recommend spending too much time in the big map when you're sailing, because obviously you need to be alert and keeping and paying attention to what's going on around you. So we're cruising along here. As you can see, it's got a nice gentle wake going on with the boat there. See, it's got a nice bobbing action as well. You can also, obviously, because this is a racing boat, it will tilt over quite hard when there are heavy winds, or if you're going around some tight corners, and you can actually hike. So by pressing shift and the arrow key, you can move yourselves over, and you can go right over, and the crew can do the same. So, you know, to keep it so that you don't end up tipping the boat over, and so that you get the best out of the boat, you can use shift and the arrow keys in the direction that you want to go. Now, I can't remember the exact science, because as I've always disclaimed, I'm not a sailor in real life. However, I am aware that there is there's a certain angle with your hull. Basically, if you ever looked at a boat, the hull's shaped so that it goes down into the middle, and it kind of goes down into that joined bit where they come together. There is a point at which the boat can tilt, where only like one of those sides is in the water, and you get less friction, I believe, on the water, which makes you go faster. So that's kind of a thing that the racing people know way more about than I do. But I'm led to understand that to get the maximum speeds when they're racing, what they attempt to do is they attempt to tilt the boat and lean it at exactly the right angle, so that only one of those sides is really skimming the water, so they have the least resistance, and so they can get the maximum speed out of the boat. I obviously only ever cruise around, so what I tend to do is just try to keep the boat flat, because that's just nice for, you know, me pottering along, if you like. Buoys, you may have noticed those around. I don't actually know what rules are applied in Second Life, because we're an international community, and in different countries it's different rules. But usually you'd stay on one side, in one direction, you'd stay on one side of the buoys. I've never really known what that is in Second Life, because no one's really said. So I just tend to stick to one side of them if I can, and stay there. Like now I'm going past this one because I'm cutting across now because I'm going to somewhere else. I generally stay on the right hand side, personally. There are rules that when you're coming inbound to land from sea and out to sea, where it's supposed to be on one side and you're supposed to be on the other, and I can't quite remember what those are, but they exist. I would say if you really want to get into the whole marine thing and you want to try and learn how to do it properly, then there's plenty on Google. If you just Google it, there's a lot of things that will tell you what the rules are in various places. I tend to do the takeover maneuver. If a boat's coming towards me, I always go to the right. And that's the rules here, at least in the UK, where if another boat sees you, if you all turn to the right, you never have a collision. Because no matter who you are, if you see a boat come towards you, you're going to turn right. You're both going to turn right, because that's the rules. And the rules are to make you stop crashing into each other. So you always pass each other on the right. That's a safe assumption. If I see somebody coming towards me and I'm not really sure where they're going to go, or anything like that, then I'm going to take a right turn. Okay, so you probably noticed there that I've had to do a quick edit because I had a bad sim crossing, crossed over it, and then I couldn't move. So I had to actually stop my viewer, start again and relog. So if that ever happens, and it's likely, I'm afraid, to happen to you on occasions, especially like today, because today's a Sunday, and for some reason, again, beyond my understanding, Sundays on SL are an absolute nightmare. Crossings on a Sunday are probably the worst in the entire week. If you're watching Linden Labs, I don't know what you're doing on a Sunday, and if you're running backups or doing something on your internal network, but whatever it is, it's really obvious to somebody that's trying to use the system, because the crossings always seem to be terrible on a Sunday. Don't know why that is, but maybe that's something you should have a look at. But you will find you won't cross sims very well. You will find you get stuck, and you will find that you probably have to actually restart the entire viewer in order to get yourself going again, because you end up trapped where you can't turn left or right. You can only move forwards and back. That's a strange thing. I don't know what causes that, but it does happen. So once you start up again, get your sails back up and off we go. We're literally at the end, which is quite hilarious, because we're literally heading towards that little hut in front of us. So off we go. As you can see, as soon as you start steering again, the animations will kick in. I'll just hike over here. And we're going to show you how to park. So as I mentioned before, when you're out on the sea here, it's okay to use the sails and you can sail around and it's fine. But when you're going to moor up, or if you're going to go into a marina, it's best to take the sails down and turn to the onboard motor, where you've got a little bit more control in that respect. So as you can see here, we're coming to this little hut. It's a res area, this, just down by the Fiji Isles. I'll tell you what it's called when I get there. Emin, I believe. The Emin Res Zone, I think it is. Little clubhouse. It's a great little place to start. There's a free boat here as well that you can jump on and just sail off on. So bring your sails down, or get your crew member, in this case Bexy, to do it. As you can tell, Bexy's been doing this a while, so she just does it automatically. She knows what to do. And then we'll start the onboard motor. While we're still moving along, you'll notice that I made sure that I'd line the boat up so that I knew that it would continue in a straight line. So it's safely come to a halt now. You'll see that the wake's gone away. And then I will just set number 1, which is the slow speed, and gently bring us in. And there's a parking spot here at the front, and if I just go to mouse view, you might be able to see that a little better. And you can then steer yourself a little bit, get yourself in the middle there. You can tell it was a fun sim crossing when you can see the little trapdoor at the front of the boat's open. I'm not going to know what it did to my scripts, but apparently it made them all go nuts. There you go. Betsy's obviously heard me say that and put it down for me. And you just bring your parking in nice and gentle with your onboard motor. And then you can literally just tell it to stop. By the way, if you're in mouse lock, press enter to get the chat up and then stop. And then I can do the same again, just type more. And that'll moor up the boat. And if I just use the scrolly wheel to come out of my... there you go, while we're here, it's the Emin Marina. Scroll back a bit, that brought me zoom out, and here we've parked. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that showed you a little bit of sailing in the IF. It's a nice little sailing boat, so like I say, great for cruising around with your friends, going out on your own, or just enjoying the sailing experience. And of course, it is a proper racing boat. So if you really want to get into the racing, then this is probably the sailboat for you. So I will say goodbye for now, and we'll see you in the next one.